My name is Allen Briere. This is my Mark 5 Volkswagen GTI T3 touring car for SCCA. So I got into racing I've been known as Herbie 53, so it's watching Herbie the Love Bug, and it was a race car. So I grew up wanting to do that. There wasn't anything you couldn't do in that little Volkswagen, so that's what gravitated me to Volkswagens. But just wanting an outlet. Started out autocrossing, and then the addiction started there. Started doing track days for more seat time, and then got into road racing. But road racing for me there's a lot of stresses in the world, in your daily life, in your careers, and the second that helmet goes on your head, all of those go away. It really brings you to a moment that it is only about you and what you're doing right now. So you have absolute control over what you're doing. You're trying to control something that could be out of control as well. So I started out with an early Mark II GTI. That was my autocross car, and then I picked up a Volkswagen Corrado, and that had many stages of build into it. At the end of its evolution of me, it was a 1.8T big turbo, wide-bodied monster. Volkswagen's been in my blood. It's what I like to wrench on. It's what the community I like, being around. I like helping it, supporting it, and it's just kind of always been Volkswagen. My entire family's Volkswagen vehicles now. So the favorite thing about this car really is just how we've been able to set up the chassis. I mean, it doesn't over-rotate. It goes where you want it to go. I could throw a novice in the car. It's generally easy to drive. It's hard to drive fast, but that's my best thing probably is the chassis, the suspension. It's stock turbo, so you're dealing with still perimeters that you have to work within, but it's really just the chassis setup, the control of the car, just the ability to react to what you want it to do. So this car started out as a street car, and it lived its life as a time trial and Track Night in America program car. It has Coney adjustable, double adjustable track day kit on this. Custom spring rates. We run 600 pounds in the front, 600 in the rear. We have factory front sway bar, new speed, large rear sway bar, ECS tuning tie rods, adjustable tie rods in the back, adjustable camber arms in the back, sway bar end links in the back. And then we move to the front, we have ground control camber plates. It's still a stock KO3 turbo from the factory. The engine, long block, is still stock. The ECU is a custom tune from United Motorsports. We have the ECS tuning red top coil packs. We have a new speed intake, Autobahn, AutoWorks, coolant hoses and vacuum hoses, ECS tuning front mount intercooler, remove the air conditioning, remove the AC condenser, as the conversion to aluminum Passat spindles, ECS tunings, wheel stud kit. We run Hoosier R7s in the front, A7s in the rear. Today it's raining, we're running Hoosier wets. We have the track spec hood vents to alleviate any heat soaking. It has a full roll cage, full SCCA spec roll cage, containment seat, window nets, driver containment, passenger or right side net. We do run a tablet to run our gauges in the radio section. Forge Motorsports, we have their shifter kit, short shifter kit, their big shifter knob in here as well. We do run the ECS tuning bleeder block, motor mounts from ECS, 3-inch downpipe down to Miltech Racing 3-inch catless exhaust. We have Alcon brake systems, so it's a 2-piece brake system with a Forge Motorsports driven 4-piston caliper set up in the front, stock brakes in the back. We run hawk pads all the way around. The looks of the Mark 5 is what my draw was, and then it came with independent rear suspension, so I knew that was going to be a plus in the platform I wanted, and it's turboed. So the aftermarket support for this chassis has been tremendous. There's parts everywhere that you can find, and then it makes good power in a reliable way. So it's been a reliable car for me. It's been competitive. I mean, we've won a couple championships with it. Just the Mark 5 kind of seemed like the recipe to put together at the time. Least favorite would probably be, in Touring 3, you're restricted to a stock turbo. So, this car would be a completely different car if it had a KO4 swap in it. That's probably my least favorite. As you start building them, you start to get everything to 100% of its capacity, and the car is pretty close to being there, and it could just use a little bit more power. This year we're qualifying for the SCCA runoffs, which will be at VIR in Virginia. So in order to qualify, you have to attend a certain amount of races and place within 50% of of your the majors is what I'm doing. So plans for the car is to continue that path. This is the second majors event that we've run. We'll be doing a couple regional events. So, and then we also want to see if we can win the New England Region SCCA Touring 3 Championship. We've won it twice before. We'll see if we can do it again this year. So that's the milestones this year for the car. Future plans, you know, you might end up seeing this car as a rental with me at the track someday. So you might be able to actually show up and rent this car. The next evolution for me is to build a Golf R. So we're working on a Mark 6 Volkswagen Golf R to not replace this one, but to be a sister of. So, I mean, if money wasn't the object, the Mark 7 platform is phenomenal. I've instructed at a couple track days, so I've driven 2 of them. A Mark 7 Golf R would be my choice. The chassis is just really, really well developed from Volkswagen. It handles really good. The power is tremendous. The ability of the car, without even modifying it yet, is just really a higher level. So a Mark 7 would be the chassis that I would go with. So as I mentioned, you know, we have the performance parts on the car, and that's really, you know, what gets me to that level. So we got Koni performance shocks on the vehicle. That, you know, accelerates our performance, our handling of it. Braking and stopping is another way that you can perform. We have Alcon brake systems on here, Hawk brake pads. You know, chassis again is, you know, PowerFlex. We have their entire Black Series bushings in this car, and then it's alignment. So all the adjustable parts that we have on this really just dials that car in so you can drive it and get the performance levels that you want. So, you know, it is partners that we have. You know, 99% of the parts that are on this vehicle can all be purchased from ECS Tuning. So, you know, anybody could mirror this car. They could build this car, you know, over a weekend. It did take a lot of years to develop it, but you could take a part sheet, purchase them, put them on in a weekend, and have a car that's a clone to it. I mean, if you're worried about the capabilities of a Volkswagen in general, or in chassis, or in engineering, you shouldn't be. You know, simple things like good brake pads, good brake lines, little subtle things that you can do to these cars. They're very forgiving. They're set up to oversteer. So, you know, you can drive them as a novice as you develop as a driver relatively easy. The car will push. So it's front wheel drive. You get off the throttle. The amount of torque that these cars have compared to other front wheel drive cars that some people might start getting into the sport with is night and day. You know, some of the Hondas and things like that, they're very high revving cars, but they just have no torque. And torque really is what makes a Volkswagen fun to drive. So the capability on track, there's not a lot of modifications you need to do. Ultimately, I tell everybody, just take it bone stock to the track, invest in yourself, and then start developing the car from there and find out what comforts you need to make the car even better. Because ultimately, that's what building a car is about, is making the driver and the car better. You can't just guess what's going to make it better. So you know, the heating, the cooling, you know, the turbos, the fatigue, none of those exist with this. So anybody that is a little timid on doing any type of track days or bringing their cars out, their Volkswagens out, and enjoying them in a more spirited driving than just a canyon run, you know, those are more sprints. Feel comfortable. The car is not going to let you, you know, leave you broken on the side of a track. It can handle it. It can handle probably more than what you can throw at it in the beginning as well. The German engineering that's involved with them is really, really good. The newer vehicles have a lot of safety features, stability controls, things like that, driver aids that can help when you get into these older ones or even older Mark II generations. You know, it's more of a driver's car. You know, they can get you past that limit way farther than you think it could. So I highly suggest anybody just experiment with their Volkswagen, you know, in a safe environment, push it to that next level, and then start just becoming one with your car. You develop and you develop your car at the same time.